Thank you very much, Peggy. It's 9 months since I've been here, so I think to many of you I can say welcome to Rome and welcome to the Vatican. And I'm sorry I missed your very special occasion this morning in greeting the Holy Father. That is an event that I'm sure you will remember, share with your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, etc. It's a special time here working with the Holy See. Let me start with the topic at hand and basically start by saying that religious freedom has been a core value for Americans since the founding of our nation. It was the pursuit of religious freedom that gave impetus to the settlers in establishing the American colonies, and throughout the years it's remained truly a fundamental American belief. As Secretary Kerry has stated, freedom of religion is not an American intervention. It is a universal value and enshrines in our Constitution and ingrained in every human heart. The freedom to profess and practice one's faith, to believe or not to believe, to change one's belief, that's the birthright of every human being. No one should be persecuted or oppressed simply because of what they choose to believe. This is a human right that the United States, the Holy See, the UN, and many other bodies wholeheartedly agree should be universal. Promoting religious freedom has increasingly become an integral part of American foreign policy. From the passage of the International Religious Freedom Act in 1998 and the creation of the State Department and White House offices of faith-based and community initiatives, to supporting the implementation of the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the United States has been actively working to ensure that religious freedom is a right that's not overlooked in any corner of the globe. According to the 2012 Pew Forum statistics, 84% of the world's population claims a religion. 84%. For millions of people around the world, faith is a fundamental part of their identity. It shapes who they are and how they understand the world around them. It provides a sense of community and a network of support. And it's no surprise that we have seen the power of religion throughout human history. In our own country, for example, we have seen religious leaders join with others in championing the cause of abolition, civil rights, and the eradication of poverty. Similarly, around the world, on issues ranging from health to education to conflict prevention, religious and other civil society leaders are tackling some of the most pressing challenges. They help create a more peaceful and secure set of communities. Of course, as we know all too well, there are also times when religion is abused to promote violence and destabilize communities. Religious freedom is a moral and just right for every person to pursue. However, this is not the only reason that is of particular concern in American foreign policy. Promoting and protecting religious freedom has gone beyond a moral and democratic value to a matter of national security. When governments repress religious expression, when politicians co-opt religious leaders for personal agendas, when public figures fail to denounce religious bigotry, the groundwork is laid for violent extremists and extremism to grow. In those same 2012 Pew Forum statistics, they reveal that 5 billion people, 74% of the world's population, live in countries with high levels of government restriction or social hostility involving religion. In other words, 3/4 of the world is in a state in which violent extremism can fester. This is a global problem, and it will require a global solution. To the United States, that means making sure that religious freedom and its concerns are addressed in our diplomatic outreach, whether that be urging the government of Pakistan to repeal the blasphemy laws, or working with European nations and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe to combat rising anti-Semitism and other forms of religious intolerance. The potential for religious communities to spark both the positive and the negative movement makes it essential for the United States to understand those communities as we attempt to engage with them. As the State Department does its work around the world, it must, we believe, have a firm grasp on these dynamics and must know how to address them in ways that are both informed and intelligent. This year, we had President Obama and Secretary of State Kerry both here on visits. They visited the Vatican and engaged with the Holy Father and various Vatican officials on key global issues. It was a recognition of the broad reach of the Catholic Church and the influence of religion on people's lives. The President and the Secretary of State have both expressed the need to collaborate with religious leaders on issues ranging from conflict prevention and mitigation to promoting human rights and fostering human development. And the U.S. State Department tries to promote religious freedom in a number of different ways. Secretary of State John Kerry began helping to promote the issue when he was still a senator. In 1998, he voted to help pass the International Religious Freedom Act. This act would ensure that the United States was performing its duty to protect this universal right. The act also created an ambassador at large within the Department of State for international religious freedom. And I noted today in some of my discussions with other European countries that they are seeking to duplicate that particular model. It has also created a Commission on International Religious Freedom, which issues an annual report on the topic, and that report should be released either this afternoon or shortly. The report highlights the status of religious freedom in 199 countries, and the report is used in discussions with other governments, international organizations, and civil society to clearly lay out the issues in a factual, objective terms. Secretary Kerry has said that the report even draws attention to those we call allies. And I quote, "It does so in order to try to make progress, even though we know that it may cause some discomfort." The ambassador at large works with many members of religious groups to give them a voice to communicate wherever in the world religious freedom is being repressed. This technique aims at motivating governments to reform and aid those that have suffered. For example, in China, the embassy in Beijing and the consulates general regularly urge government officials at the central and local level to implement stronger protections on religious freedom. In Russia, embassy officials express concern about alleged abuses of the anti-extremism law. In Vietnam, the ambassador at large for international religious freedom visited the country last year, raised religious freedom issues with senior government officials, and met with religious leaders of multiple faiths, both those recognized and not recognized by the Vietnamese government. The department's Office of Faith-Based and Community Initiatives is another channel for engagement and dialogue between the State Department and religious leaders and organizations around the world. At the August 2013 launch of the office in the State Department, Secretary Kerry said, "We ignore the global impact of religion at our peril." He issued a call to action to department employees to go out and engage religious leaders and faith-based communities in our day-to-day work, to build strong relationship with them, and to listen to their insights and understand their important contributions, the contributions they can make individually and that we can make to solve global challenges. This was particularly interesting to me coming from a 40-year career with a religious organization, a religious human development organization, to enter the State Department in my retirement and find at the very month I was going through ambassador school that the Secretary of State was talking about engagement of religious leaders. It was a no-brainer for me, but in a culture that existed in the Department of State, it was something very new. Currently, that office is led by a special advisor, Dr. Sean Casey. The first mission of the office is, of course, to advise the Secretary of State when religious issues cut across his portfolio. And if you have even a nodding acquaintance of what Secretary Kerry does on a day-to-day basis, you will see that religion cuts across a major part of his portfolio. This office ensures that all the voices have a chance to be heard and to make an impact on U.S. foreign policy. The second mission of that new office is to help build the capacity for religious engagement within the State Department. So, Peggy, you know very well that the people that are hired by the State Department, and maybe it's the same in other countries, come out of the best graduate schools. St. John's Law School, Georgetown, SAIS, Harvard, Tufts. They don't get religion in those graduate courses, at least not yet. So they don't necessarily enter the diplomatic service prepared to wrestle with some of the complex ideas that are found in the religious environments of the countries they work. The second mission of that office is to help build, as I said, a capacity for engagement. And so right now, Dr. Sean Casey is integrating into the training programs of new Foreign Service professionals and renewed Foreign Service professionals seminars on religious engagement. And the third mission is to serve as a conduit for outside stakeholders who want to learn what the State Department does, perhaps partner around common interest, and to share knowledge with us from the world. The United States also pushed quite strongly and ultimately successfully for the UN Resolution 1618 to pass. This resolution focuses on prohibiting states to discriminate against individuals based on religious belief, and educating and training government officials on how to reach out to their local religious community. This is a kind of legislation that can truly help spread a common understanding in place of bigotry and hatred. The United States is the first to admit that there is no place and no government on earth that is exempt from violations of religious freedom. But spreading awareness and promoting dialogue across states and religions is, in our estimation, the most effective way to stop that hideous problem in its tracks. It's our responsibility today to ensure that the world of tomorrow is a safer place for people of all religions everywhere, and that is a safer place than it was yesterday. Thank you all very, very much.